ever get that, like, little knot of worry in your stomach when you're about to fly? And I'm not talking about missing your connection or, like, your luggage getting lost. No, something a little more, I don't know, internal.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that.
Well, today we are diving deep on something that might not be on everyone's pre-flight checklist.
Okay.
High blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
We found this super in-depth article
Yeah.
from the EMT spot. They're like, the blood pressure experts,
They
right?
really are.
So we're going to break down the risks
Okay.
and precautions of flying when you've got hypertension.
Interesting. Yeah. You know, it's funny how we always focus on like the obvious travel stresses.
Yeah.
But the impact of altitude on our bodies,
Right.
especially for people with, blood pressure concerns, is huge EE, and
Yeah.
we just kind of gloss over it.
Totally. It's like, yeah, the cabin's pressurized, whatever, but it's not like we're teleporting, right?
Right.
So what is it about being up that high that makes it tricky for folks with high blood pressure?
It's all about the air, really. Think about it. The higher you go, the thinner the air gets.
Okay.
And when I say thin, I mean less oxygen.
Right.
Now, our bodies are pretty incredible. They try to compensate by making the heart work harder, to get that oxygen flowing in the blood.
Right, right.
But for someone with hypertension, that extra effort can be a problem. It can push their blood pressure even higher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which can be risky, for sure.
So it's like kind of like asking a marathon runner to suddenly sprint uphill at altitude.
Exactly. A recipe for disaster. And honestly, we're not just talking about feeling a little lightheaded here.
Oh, really? It's more serious than that.
It can be. The article even mentions hypoxia, which is, no joke. Basically, it's when your body's not getting enough oxygen, period. And in extreme cases, it can lead to some pretty scary stuff like shortness of breath, headaches, even confusion.
Wow.
Now, cabin pressurization does help for sure. It typically simulates an altitude of around 6,000 to 8,000 feet.
6,000 feet. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I had no idea it was that high still.
Yeah. It's kind of wild, right? I mean, think about it. That's like being on top of a pretty serious mountain. And for someone with, existing heart conditions, that can definitely be risky.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not nothing, 6,000 feet.
Right. It's a thing.
So this isn't just like a theoretical risk. There's actual research on how flying affects blood pressure.
Oh, absolutely. There was this really interesting study published in the Anatolian Journal of Cardiology, I think it was.
Okay.
Where researchers, they basically monitored a bunch of healthy dudes, like no history of heart problems or anything during flights, just to see what happened.
Okay.
And guess what? Even in these healthy guys, they found measurable increases in heart rate and blood pressure.
Oh, wow. Really?
Along with some funky changes in heart rhythm, too.
See, this is why I love these deep dives.
Yeah.
You think you know something about, like, just getting on a plane.
Right.
And then, bam! Turns out our bodies are working overtime up there. Okay, so altitude's a factor for sure. What?
Well, the article also mentioned dehydration as a major, major culprit.
Right. Which, I mean, come on. We all know flying dries you out, right? But why is it extra important for people with, high blood pressure to really stay on top of their water intaking?
So this whole DVT thing, it does sound kind of scary, like something you'd hear on Grey's Anatomy and suddenly everyone's like rushing around. But seriously, break it down for us. What is going on with DVT? And why should flyers with high blood pressure be extra cautious?
Okay. First of all, no need to panic. It's way simpler than it sounds, DVT, or deep vein thrombosis.
Yeah.
It's basically when a blood clot forms in a vein. Usually it's like deep in your legs.
Okay.
And anyone who sits still for a long time, like, hello, long flights, is at some risk. But here's where high blood pressure comes in. It can actually make your blood more likely to clot in the first place.
Yeah.
So combine that with being kind of stuck in a cramped seat for hours on end.
Yeah, not the best combo.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the connection. But why is a blood clot in the leg such a big deal? Can't it just, like, dissolve on its own?
Sometimes, yeah. And this is the part they really hammered home in the article. The real danger is if that clot breaks free and travels to your lungs.
Oh, no.
That's called a pulmonary embolism. And that can be, it can be life-threatening, no joke.
Okay, message received. Definitely do not want that as a souvenir from our trip. So how do we avoid becoming a DVT statistic? Asking for a friend who may or may not be a very frequent flyer.
Right. Well, the good news is it's mostly about staying active, even in that, confined little space. Remember those, like, stretches and stuff they show in the safety video?
Uh-huh.
Turns out those are not just for show. Ankle rotations, foot pumps, even just, like, standing up and walking the aisle when you can, all of that actually helps.
Mm-hmm.
It gets your blood flowing and it can help prevent those clots from forming.
So I should be that weirdo, like, doing laps up and down the aisle.
Well, no need to go overboard, but yeah, every little bit helps.
Okay, deal. So
Yeah.
turning that cramped plane aisle into our own little mini workout zone. I can get behind that. But speaking of things that can help,
Yeah.
what about compression socks? Are those legit or just a marketing gimmick?
Oh, they're totally legit. And honestly, the science behind it is kind of cool. Compression socks basically like gently squeeze your legs,
Okay.
which increases blood flow and makes it harder for clots to form. It's like giving your circulatory system a little nudge in the right direction.
So not just a fashion statement, actual like medical support. I'm sold.
Right.
And you said the article cited a couple of studies about this, right?
Yeah, there were a couple. One was from, I think it was the Japanese Society of Physical Therapy.
Okay.
And they found that people who did like self-calf massages during flights had a way lower risk of DVT.
Interesting.
And then there was a more recent study. This one was from the Cochrane Library, which is like a really reputable source in the medical world.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of them.
And they basically found that compression socks were super effective at preventing DVT without any like major side effects or anything.
Well, there you go. Compression socks going on the packing list for sure. Now, switching gears a bit here to another, shall we say, joy of flying, jet lag. We've all felt that like foggy-headed feeling after crossing time zones, but what's the actual connection between jet lag and blood pressure?
It all comes down to your body clock, or as the fancy folks call it, your circadian rhythm. It's how your body knows when to sleep, when to wake up, all that jazz.
Right.
But when you fly across time zones, your body is basically like, hold up, what time is it? Where am I? It gets all out of whack. Your sleep gets messed up. You're probably eating at weird times. And all that throws your system for a loop.
It's like your whole body is running on fumes and a prayer at that point.
Pretty much. And you know what doesn't like a system in chaos? Your blood pressure.
Makes sense.
Stress in any form can make your blood pressure go haywire. And jet lag is like this sneaky form of stress. The article even mentioned a study, I think it was from the American Journal of Hypertension. They found that even just one night of bad sleep could seriously increase blood pressure, especially for people who already have hypertension.
Wow, really? Just one night. Okay, so those I'll sleep when I'm dead folks are not doing their blood pressure any favors, especially when they travel.
No kidding. Sleep is your friend, people. Especially on the road.
So any tips on how to combat jet lag besides, just not flying long distances? Because I don't know about you, but I can't exactly teleport myself to Europe yet.
Nah, right. I wish it were that easy. But seriously, there are a few things you can try. One trick is to try and gradually adjust your sleep schedule a few days before your trip.
Okay, interesting. Like how so?
So let's say you're flying east. Try going to bed and waking up like an hour earlier each day leading up to your departure.
So you're basically tricking your body into thinking it's in a different time zone already. Clever.
Exactly. And of course, we cannot forget about our good friend, hydration. Staying well hydrated before, during, and after your flight can make a world of difference in how your body handles that whole time zone transition.
It's like giving your body the ultimate support crew.
Right. Gotta stay hydrated. And then the article also mentioned melatonin. I don't know if you've ever tried that.
Oh yeah, I've heard it can help with jet lag.
Yeah, it definitely can. But here's the thing, and I can't stress this enough always. Always talk to your doctor before starting any new supplements.
Okay, good advice.
Especially if you're already on medication for anything, because melatonin can interact with certain meds, and it's just better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, so we've talked about all the what ifs and the scary stuff.
Yeah.
But let's get practical. What can we actually do to make flying with high blood pressure, less of a thing?
Right. The good news is a lot of it is really simple stuff.
Okay, hit me with your best pre-flight tips.
First and foremost, medication.
Of course, yeah.
If you're on any kind of prescribed blood pressure meds, pack enough for your entire trip, plus a few extra days worth, just in case of, delays or whatever.
Yeah, for sure, because you really don't want to be stuck without them.
No, not at all. And speaking of crucial items, keep those meds in your carry-on. Don't even think about putting them in your checked luggage.
Oh my gosh, yes. Good reminder.
Because you never know. Bags get lost, delayed, better safe than sorry.
Totally. Okay, so meds, check. What else?
Right alongside those meds, your new best friend. A reusable water bottle.
Ah, yes. Hydration station, always.
We've talked about how dehydrating flying can be, so be proactive. Fill that bottle up after you go through security.
Right, important detail.
And just keep sipping on it throughout your flight.
It's amazing what a difference it makes, right?
Huge.
Okay, so we're hydrated, we got our meds. Let's talk snacks, because we all know that airport food can be a recipe for, Instant bloating and blood pressure spikes.
It's true. Those salty pretzels are calling your name but resist.
Uh-huh. I know. So any healthier swaps we can pack instead?
Totally. Ditch the sodium bombs and go for things like unsalted nuts, fresh fruit.
Okay, I like it.
Grapes are always a winner for travel. Veggie sticks with like a little single-serving hummus pack.
Ooh, portable protein.
Exactly. Or plain whole grain crackers, stuff like that.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Now, the article also mentioned bringing along a blood pressure monitor, like just for peace of mind. Is that something you'd recommend everyone do?
You know, it doesn't hurt, especially if you're the type who likes to keep track of their numbers or if you tend to get a little anxious about it.
Right.
Having that monitor can be reassuring. But here's the thing to remember. Readings can be all over the place when you're traveling, so don't freak out if yours is a little higher than usual. It doesn't necessarily mean anything's wrong.
Right, good point.
Yeah.
There are so many factors.
Exactly. Which is why, and I know I sound like a broken record here, but this is where talking to your doctor is key.
Always good advice.
They can help you figure out what's a normal fluctuation for you and what to do if your blood pressure actually does go up.
Right, like is it just the stress of the airport or is it something more serious?
Exactly. They can also tell you if you need to adjust your medication schedule for the time change.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, it's important. Like if you usually take your meds at 8 a.m., but you're flying to a time zone that's like 8 hours ahead. You don't want to wait until it's 4:00 p.m. your time to take them.
Right. You've got to stay on schedule.
Exactly. Now, beyond all the, physical stuff, let's not forget about the mental and emotional side of travel.
Oh, for sure. That's huge.
Anxiety and stress can definitely mess with your blood pressure. So having some calming techniques in your back pocket is never a bad idea.
Love it. What works for you? I'm always looking for new tips.
Honestly. Sometimes just taking a few deep breaths does wonders.
Yeah.
If you're listening to some calming music, whatever helps you unwind.
Yeah, I actually downloaded this meditation app specifically for travel because there's just something about airports.
Oh, tell me about it. They're chaotic.
Yes. So having a little bit of zen in my pocket is essential.
I feel that. And, sometimes just having a plan, like we've been talking about,
Right.
that in itself can really reduce anxiety.
Totally. Knowledge is power. Right.
Exactly.
Well, I feel calmer already, and we haven't even left the ground yet.
I know, right?
But seriously, it seems like flying with high blood pressure is totally doable. It just takes a little extra thought and preparation.
I couldn't agree more.
So to wrap things up for our listeners out there, next time you're planning a trip, remember, taking care of your blood pressure at 30,000 feet is just as important as packing your passport.
Well said.
Safe travels, everyone.